The discovery was already finished. The math worked. The planet was there. And Britain still lost one of the greatest scientific victories in history because the people in charge waited too long. In 1845, somewhere inside a quiet room in Cambridge, a young mathematician named John Couch Adams sat over a handwritten orbital chart that should have changed history forever. On the paper were calculations pointing towards something no human had ever seen, a hidden planet beyond Uranus. An entire world discovered not through a telescope, but through mathematics alone. And yet that paper would sit ignored while another country prepared to take the prize. The problem had started years earlier with Uranus. Astronomers had spent decades tracking its orbit after its discovery by William Herschel in 1781. But something was wrong. Uranus kept drifting. Its path refused to match Newton's laws of motion. The numbers should have been perfect. They were not. At first, the error seemed small, a slight deviation, but year after year, the discrepancy grew larger. The entire predictive system that astronomers trusted was beginning to crack. Either Isaac Newton was wrong, or something massive was pulling Uranus from somewhere farther out in space. Adams believed he knew the answer. Working alone, he began calculating backward. If an unseen planet existed beyond Uranus, its gravity would distort the orbit in exactly measurable ways. Day after day, he refined the numbers, distances, mass estimates, orbital position. Then he reached an astonishing conclusion. There was another planet. Not a theory. A location. An exact point in the sky where astronomers could look. And this is where the first failure began. Adams sent his findings to George Bedell Airy, one of the most powerful scientific authorities in Britain. Airy controlled access to the observatories capable of verifying the discovery. The response should have been immediate. Instead, Airy hesitated. He asked Adams technical follow-up questions. Adams delayed responding. Communication stalled. Days became weeks. The planet was still out there. The math had not changed, but Britain's scientific machine had stopped moving. And that quiet delay was already becoming expensive. Sitting on that old observatory desk, Adams' handwritten chart represented something extraordinary. Humanity had potentially discovered a world before physically seeing it. But the institution built to act on discovery had become its own obstacle. Meanwhile, across the English Channel, France was unknowingly approaching the exact same breakthrough. In Paris, another mathematician named Urbain Le Verrier had begun his own calculations. He noticed the same orbital disturbances. He followed the same logic. And months later, he reached almost the same answer. Another planet existed beyond Uranus. But unlike Adams, Le Verrier did not run into hesitation. He acted. That changed everything. Le Verrier sent his calculations directly to the Berlin Observatory in Germany. No delays, no bureaucracy, no internal scientific politics. Just a request. Point the telescope here. On the night of September 23, 1846, astronomer Johann Gottfried Galle aimed his telescope toward the predicted coordinates. Less than 1 degree away from Le Verrier's calculation sat an unfamiliar object. Within hours, it was confirmed. Neptune had been discovered, exactly where the mathematics predicted. The French had won. And suddenly, Britain realized what had happened. Back in England, the ignored calculations on Adams' desk now looked very different. The same prediction, nearly identical coordinates, the same hidden planet. The difference was not intelligence. It was speed. Britain had possessed the answer first. But the system responsible for acting on that answer failed one layer at a time. First, communication slowed. Then authority hesitated. Then procedure replaced urgency. Then opportunity disappeared. What made this disaster worse was how close Britain had been to victory. After hearing of the French discovery, British astronomers rushed to review Adams' original work. They discovered his predicted coordinates had been frighteningly accurate. The planet had been waiting in exactly the right place the entire time. The telescope simply arrived too late. The consequences exploded into an international scientific war. British newspapers argued Adams deserved equal credit. French institutions insisted Le Verrier had officially earned discovery rights because he acted first. For months, scientific communities across Europe fought over ownership of history itself. But the argument could not erase one brutal reality. History remembers who confirmed discovery, not who hesitated before proving it. That observatory desk tells a completely different story now. At first glance, it looks like a moment of genius. A brilliant young mathematician solving one of astronomy's greatest puzzles. But look again. The unanswered letters. The ignored calculations. The telescope pointed too late. That desk is not the story of discovering Neptune. It is the story of losing Neptune. Because one of science's greatest assumptions quietly collapsed that year. Discovery does not belong to the smartest institution. It belongs to the institution capable of moving before the opportunity disappears. Britain had the answer. France had the action. And history rewarded action. The math found the planet. People lost it.